Ladies and gentlemen, hailing from parts unknown, weight unknown, he is the Metal Geek! So it's time to wage war in the Geek Pit! Oh, yeah!
All right.
Heck yeah,
That was
man.
awesome.
Heck yeah.
That was
The Mosh
that
Pit. Oh, yeah. I think I peaked on
that's
that a little bit, but hey, whatever.
no, that was awesome, dude. I mean, yeah, how a Geek Pit got started is because Mosh Pit Geek, so I figured I'd blend the two
Well,
together. Yeah,
metal
yeah,
music, mosh pits,
geeks.
wrestling, can't beat it, bro.
Yeah. So, man, how'd you get your start as a ring announcer or in the
Holy
business?
crap. I mean, it's going back like uh into my I was still in college. I was in college from what, 96? I went to University of Georgia and I
Mhm.
was in college from 96 till 98. And it's the funniest thing because I watched wrestling growing up. I loved, WrestleMania 3. I think that was a tournament where all the guys would battle it out. Macho Man was taking on Ted DiBiase in the end. I loved all the early WrestleManias. I loved, I wrestled my pillows when I was a kid. I would just, pretend to wrestle. And I never really thought I'd be a part of it because, I'm 5'8". I'm not that, I wasn't big at the time. And a lot of the guys that were my height were luchadors, right? You got, Rey Mysterio was hitting the scene. What was that? Psychosis. You had a lot of different guys, but they were Hispanic guys. You didn't see a lot of short guys. And so, hey, I thought, well, I got a good voice. I like to present and I'm a good talker and I could be a ring announcer, but I didn't know where to go. So, oddly enough, I was at the local bowling alley. Go figure. And there's this guy. He became my mentor. And matter of fact, I can pull the picture right here. There he is, right there.
Wow.
The older guy, right there. That's Chris Long. That was a good friend of mine. Both of these guys have passed away, but Chris Long was a wrestler as well. But that guy, his name is Straight Call Star Stevens, and he had a Starcade shirt on. And I walked by him and I said, "Holy hell, man, Starcade, that's one of my favorites." And he was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "I work shows here in Georgia because that's where I'm from." And I said, "You work shows in Georgia? What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, there's a lot of different organizations here in Georgia that put on shows." I said, "So you're talking about WCW and WWE? Is that what you're talking about?" He's like, or WWF at the time. And he was like, "No, man, there's an indie scene." And he's like, "Hey, if you ever want to go with me, I'll take you with me on the road and you can, learn the ropes, so to speak." And I was like, okay, okay. I was like 19 at the time. I was a very cocky guy. I thought I was very, very cocky. I thought, yeah, I could do this. No big deal. But he took me on the road and he did show me the ropes. He showed me the ropes. I met a lot of different wrestlers, um, a lot of different experiences that were good and, some were bad. But I inevitably got myself in the squared circle, being a ring announcer. My first shows were at a kickboxing or gym. And there's probably about 10 people in the audience at a time. There was hardly anybody. I mean, the wrestlers would probably bring their girlfriends and their family members, but I didn't really care. I had an opportunity to do the ring announcing. I had an opportunity to do some commentary, and I had an opportunity to be involved in what I wanted to do. And so I kind of took that to college and we had a radio station, WUOG Athens 90.5. I remember it clear as day. And I proposed a show, a wrestling show for the radio station. Lo and behold, it got approved. And I was like, all right. So every week, I think it was Wednesdays, it was around like 5 or 6 o'clock. I do a 30-minute show. And all the guys that I interacted with and met on the road, I'd have them on my show. Guys like, you probably don't know these guys, but like Notorious DOG was one of them. Murder One, not probably the Murder One you know now and that exists today, but this was a different Murder One. And Total Protection, Mr. Hughes, big guy. He was Big Cat. And I thought, I wanted an internship too. We all had to get an internship because I was a journalism major. And I applied at Channel 11 News. I applied at 790 The Zone, which is a sports talk station, and I applied to World Championship Wrestling. I didn't think I was going to get it, but I did. I did. And I was like, oh my goodness, this could be the opportunity that I've been waiting for. You know, this could be the thing that opens the door for me to make it to the big time. And so I was in this internship and I would talk to the people in the office. I talked to them about what I was doing. And like, hey, I'm a ring announcer. I'm on the indie circuit. You know, I'm doing all this stuff. They didn't give a shit. They didn't give a damn about what I was doing. I was just a stinking intern. They didn't want me talking to wrestlers. I had a conversation with Booker T because we were delivering. I always had to like contact them about packages that are being delivered. And I had a great conversation with Booker T one time. Got in trouble for that. I got to meet one of the guys from the Wonder Years. His name was, I think his name, I got it written down here. His name was Jason Harvey. Yeah, Jason Harvey from the Wonder Years. He loved wrestling. He would be at all the WCW events. And I had a great conversation with him. I talked to him for hours. I got to sit on sets with Goldberg for pay-per-view commercial shoots. And I also got to sit on set with Diamond Dallas Page.
Wow.
There was a game that, Nintendo 64 was coming out with a WCW game. And that was a good game, by the way. And I got to sit and hang out with him and play the game with him. He was really nice. Real nice guy. I loved going to the shoots. Matter of fact, I do DDP yoga to this day. I mean, that guy has transitioned his life into another career, but his yoga is outstanding. But as the internship went along, I kind of got in trouble, I guess. I don't know. I got in trouble. I worked at a bar and it was called Good Old Days. And it was right almost in the heart of Atlanta. And the bar had a ring and it was covered. It was outside, but it was covered. And we have wrestlers there. And I was working the door. And there was one bouncer that liked to spread rumors. And he was saying that like Buff Bagwell and Scott Hall got into a fight backstage. I didn't think nothing of it. I talked about it on my radio show. Well, needless to say, I think Buff Bagwell was looking for me in the WCW offices. And I wasn't there. I wasn't working that day. Eric Bischoff got wind of it. And let me just say that my time was cut short. I had a one-on-one meeting with Eric Bischoff. He wasn't mean to me. I thought, you know what? Honestly, too, I didn't care because I didn't think this was going anywhere. I was just like, in retrospect, I think I should have just worked over and interned at a news station because I didn't get to do anything but, deliver mail. I put together a title history for WCW. That was fun. But they didn't care what I did. And I just really thought that they would have more interest. And like, this guy really loves wrestling. We need to get him involved. I didn't think I was going to be top tier walking in the door. I knew I'd have to pay my dues, but there was no opening. And the minute Buff Bagwell, I guess, got pissed at me, that was the end of that. But it is what it is. Everything's a learning experience. But I got back on the road and I got back on and I continued to work the indie scene. I worked with guys, I worked with the Rock and Roll Express, the Fabulous Freebirds. I worked with New Jack. I remember doing a show with New Jack. And I brought my girlfriend with me at the time. I brought her with me to a lot of the shows. And he's like, hey, Brad. He's like, I'm going to bang your girlfriend. And I said, what? I said, what? What? I said, you do what you got to do, New Jack. I said, I'm not messing with you, bud. I said, you're dangerous. You can do it. If she wants to do it, that's fine. I'm not going to say nothing. But that's the interactions I had with New Jack. We used to have this little wrestling handshake because back then kayfabe was kayfabe. You still, it wasn't, everything wasn't out in the open. And they had this little handshake where I'd shake your hand and they do this little finger thing on your palm of your hand. That would mean that you're in the know. And I saw a lot of guys go through hell A lot of like, what is it? Hazing. A lot of hazing going on. Never
I heard
happened to
about this.
me. Yeah, it never happened to me. I saw it. I'm glad it didn't happen to me because some of the stuff they did was pretty disgusting. Um, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot. Then eventually I got sidetracked. I got involved with I just had, I had a girlfriend at the time and I lost focus and I stepped back. I stepped away from the ring and I became a fireman. I became a fireman, did it for 15 years. Um, in the meantime, I was in a band. I was a metal singer in a band called Divided Lines. And we screamed and we yelled, yeah. You know,
Yeah.
like my slogan, punch every day in the face. I
Yeah.
mean, I loved being in metal. It was fun. But when you have a bunch of guys together, usually somebody's not pulling their weight or somebody can't keep time and while they're doing their drums. And, I lose. And my best friend got fired from our band. And it just didn't work out. So in my 30s, I got back into wrestling, but it was a lot different. There was tough guys back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Tommy Wildfire Rich, he was a crazy dude. I mean, when I met him as a youngster, he was wild. He scared the shit out of me. And I just, I took what he gave me. I mean, he would treat me like shit and I would just take it. And eventually he was actually pretty nice to me. But the things changed. Guys were doing ring announcing for free. They were they were wrestling for free. And I didn't get that because we always got paid. We always got paid. I didn't get paid a lot. I must have made $50 a show, but I was 20 years old. And then I got back into it in my 30s and they want me to do shit for free. And I'm like, you're sabotaging yourselves by doing this. And, there's a lot of promoters I've worked with that didn't know how to promote. And it was all about them. They forgot. This is not about you. This is about the show. This is about what you can put out there. And you got to let people know that it exists. And and then we ended up doing shows for like 20 people. And I was okay with it. But I wanted something better. And so that's when I stumbled onto Rampage Pro Wrestling in Warner Robins, Georgia. It was at a skate rink. But they had not a skate rink. It was at like a Dave and Buster's kind of place. But it was small. It was smaller. But they had a whole section where it was taped for television. And they'd have guest wrestlers come in. I think Honey Boo Boo even came to the event. Yeah, back in the day when her show was killing it. But tape
My
television.
girlfriend loves that show, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's in the chat right now. She
Okay, cool. Yeah, and Rampage, I was always over the top. And sometimes it's, if you're wanting to be an aspiring ring announcer or you want to do interviews, you really don't want to upstage anybody. And you really got to, even in life and even in voiceover that I do now, you got to slow down. But it's kind of stressful because when you don't know all the wrestlers' names and you get there and you got to remember everybody's name and you get the camera put on you and you got to do it in one take. You got to be on your game. And so, social media and Facebook and all that made it easier later on in life. But earlier in life, when you go to a show, like in the late 90s and early 2000s, we didn't have that. So when I get to the show, I have to get to the show about an hour, probably an hour and a half early. So I get all my cue cards. I write everybody's information down. So it was crunch time. You had to get it done, because you don't want to be a dumbass going into the ring and not knowing. I've messed up names by accident before. I thought I was going to get killed on that one. But, it happens. It does happen. But you got to be prepared. And there's no excuse nowadays. No excuse for not being prepared. And just realize the card's probably going to change. It's going to change. Somebody doesn't show up. Somebody's late. Somebody gets in a fight and they don't want to be there anymore. The card's always changing. So you got to be able to think on your feet Be confident in what you do, but don't be cocky. And be humble. Listen to people. I remember a story. I did a show, and I thought I was a male dancer for a for when in my young years. I was a stripper. I was a performer. I did that too, and I thought I was the shit, and I didn't think anybody could tell me anything, right? So this guy is talking to me about mic placement. And I'm like, oh, don't tell me what to do. I've been doing this for a while now. I've only been doing it for like maybe 5 or 6 years. And lo and behold, I realized this guy had been in the wrestling business for like 2 decades. And I'm like, son of a bitch, I shouldn't have done that. And I did. I sucked it up. I sucked it up that day. And I told the guy, I said, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That you're right. That's a valuable lesson. I'll take it with me to the grave. And, needless to say, that guy, he's like in his 80s now. I still try to reach out to him and talk to him, but just got to be humble. And you got to be humble, and you got to just kind of shut your mouth and just listen to what everybody's trying to tell you. And I know a lot of things are different now. I know a lot of things are different. We partied a lot back in the late 90s and 2000s. When we hit the road, we were partying. That's what they did. You watch The Dark Side of the Ring. Well, there you got it. There you have it. We partied, and there wasn't straight edge time. It was party central. And I enjoyed it. I would never say that I regretted anything I did. But the one thing I do wish I would have done, I wish I would have stuck with it. I wish I would have put my nose to the grinder and just stuck with it and started instead of jumping into a band. Because I am a good ring announcer. I think I'm a great ring announcer. And I just think I could have made it to different levels if I would have just, stuck with it, didn't get sidetracked,
Mhm.
But wrestling has been a big part of I don't watch a lot of wrestling anymore. I was at a convention though recently. I got to talk to Jungle Boy. That was pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to talk to him. It was in Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama. It was a comic expo. He was over there. And who's the guy that's going to Mount Everest? He has a painted face. He's on AEW. What's his name?
Are we talking Darby or
Not Darby, the other one.
Stan? Not Stan.
Nope. His whole face he's a skinny guy.
Skinny guy.
Yeah,
That's Darby. That's Darby.
That's not Darby. This is another guy. He's got all black on.
We're talking Alistair. We're talking Alistair, right? But Alistair's big though.
Yeah. He's climbing Mount Everest from what he was saying. And I thought that was pretty cool. It was cool to talk to the guys because I didn't ask regular questions because I know there's good stories that go on the road. And I asked him, I said, hey man, can you guys tell me a good story that you can tell about a road trip you've been on? And they're like, no, can't do that. Because a lot goes on the road, I got to meet, and I met Lord Steven Regal. I met
wow.
Public Enemy back again. Remember that tag team, Public Enemy?
Yeah, probably.
I have a lot of like WWA4 was a big part of my life. If you don't know what the WWA4 is, it's a wrestling school in Georgia. And it, I think it originated back in the early, like 2000, 2001. And the guy that owned that bar, Good Old Days, he's the one that put over the money to build the place or buy the place to put the wrestling. And I got to be around a lot of that stuff. I got to be around Sarge. Remember Sarge? He was one of the coaches over there. Elix Skipper, he passed away. May he rest in peace. He was over there. He was a coach early on. And now AR Fox has taken that over. And AR Fox is a guy that I have high respect for. He's really entertaining, works his ass off. And, he's in AEW, which I'm very happy for him. Apollo Crews is another guy from WWA4, which he really worked his rear end off. Very entertaining guy. Nice guy.
Uha Nation right there.
Huh? Uha. Yeah, there you go. Uha Nation.
There you go, man.
I knew him as Uha Nation. That's who I knew him as.
Yeah.
There's a guy called the Emperor, Black Baron. He was another guy that he's done pretty good for himself. Kiera Hogan, she was
Yeah.
another one that was in WWA4. And every Thursday night, we'd have a little show on YouTube. And a matter of fact, it's on right now. They do it. They actually moved locations. I think the WWA4 is in a different location now because it used to be attached to a strip club.
Oh,
And
man.
so, yeah. So you'd go in there and you'd smell like burnt cigarettes and it was like, yeah, damn, it smells like shit in here. But we had like what, 1, 2, 3, we had 4 or 5 rings where guys could train. And I'd go in there, get my workout in early, and then sit with Total Protection. And we call play-by-play. And that's where I kind of learned I needed to slow down. I like to be hyped up. I love calling play-by-play, but there was a time where you don't want to have everything's this. You don't want everything to be this. You got to build it up. It's got to build up, and there was a guy, I consider probably the best ring announcer I have ever seen outside of the elite, but Dan Masters. He worked for Women of Wrestling, but he also worked at Rampage when I was working at Rampage. And the guy was just, he'd been around wrestling forever and he grew up in it and he just really knew everything. He didn't need cue cards, because he's been around the guys so much. And I was like, man, this guy, I respect this guy. I mean, he's really good at what he does. And he was really calm. And that's what I learned over at Rampage. I learned to slow down. I learned to calm down. Because, when you're doing these interviews, they're not live, but they're TV taped. But you can't mess up. You can't really mess up. You got to be good at improvising. And that's what that taught me. It was a really good experience. And I will never regret that. Unfortunately, though, like a lot of indie organizations, it folded. And so we were left back at square one. But I had another, I guess, job that I was doing. We had a podcast. I've been in multiple podcasts, but a lot of them have dealt with MMA, mixed martial arts. Back in 2012, when I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting, I ran into a couple of guys and they were talking about wrestling. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to ring announce. That was a really good time. I really enjoyed it. And they're like, yeah, we're looking to put a MMA podcast together. I said, okay, it's kind of similar. I'd like to do that. And so we put this MMA Mayhem Radio podcast together, which you can check out all the interviews and all the old stuff on YouTube under MMA Mayhem Radio. And we interviewed a lot of guys. I interviewed Dan the Beast Severin, I can't, there's so many. You name it. We interviewed them. And we were featured on the cover of Yahoo Sports. We were, one of our videos was on Tosh.0. And, because we were interviewing a guy in the back, my co-partner, and the fighter ended up throwing up on him. And so that got his notoriety. We're like, oh yeah, that's great. But yeah, I'd hit the road there too. I'd work a 24-hour shift at the fire department, then head 6 hours to Myrtle Beach, cover a fight, then drive 6 hours back in the same day. And it was a lot of work. But that's what you got to do. If you want to be in wrestling, you got to hit the road. And you got to hit the road. You got to do it. It's just, you're not going to get, it's great with social media. But if you're wrestling for your sister and your brother and your mom and dad all the time, that's not going to cut it. Not going to cut it.
So yeah. So you went from being a ring announcer to getting involved in voiceovers. How did you get involved? How did you get involved in that exactly?
Well, it was with Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I was back in 2020, around 2013. I wanted to be a newscaster. That's what I wanted to be, a sportscaster. That's what I really wanted to do. That's what I went back to school for. But I was introduced to a radio DJ, and she introduced me to voiceover. She's like, oh yeah, this is what we do. And I started connecting with her, and I would meet her at her studio, and then we would record different scripts. So she put my first demo together in 2013. And I've been diligently working on this for almost 10 years now. It's had its ups and downs, but what I learned from wrestling was I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. This is something I'm going to do. I'm going to strive to be the best I can. I'm going to get knocked down. I've gotten knocked down, dude. I've gotten kicked right in the nuts. And the difference between me then and now is that I get back up. And that's my slogan, dude. I can't not get back up. I got to punch every day in the face, right? Yeah. You got to do it. I'm lightning in the mic.
Come on. You got to punch in the face. There you
go. Yeah. Punch every day in the face. You got to do it. You got to do it. That's just it's not just with work. You just got to do it because shit's going to happen in life. And this is not it. You look at the dark side of the ring. This is not easy. Man. There's a lot of temptations. There's a lot of grind. There's a lot of wear and tear on your body. I mean, you just got to be ready. And there's a lot of lonely times because you're going to be alone.
If they were to make a Dark Side of the Ring, what episode would you like to see them make?
God, they made so many good ones. I'd like to see Abdullah the Butcher. I hosted the Abdullah the Butcher show for a while because he lived in Georgia. He asked me if Honest John Cheatham was a good friend of his, and Honest John would book all of his events. And he's gone too. May he rest in peace. But Honest John called me up. He said, "Hey man, you wanna do Abdullah the Butcher show?" This is another guy that kind of scared the shit out of me. So, but he was in a wheelchair at the time. But I watched him growing up. I thought he was a badass. I was like, this big guy. I like the one man gang. Bastion Booger. These guys from the past. Earthquake. They were just huge guys. And Abdullah was tough as nails. Not saying everything he did was great, but he was tough and people feared him. So I hosted his show for a while, and that was a good experience. I don't think his show got a lot of traction though. And what happened was I think I just got back into work and I just couldn't make it anymore. But I would like to see you behind the scenes with him. That would be a good one. Maybe Sid Vicious. Sid Vicious might be another one after he broke his leg jumping off the ropes.
Oh man,
that would be a good one. Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon
would be a great Dark Side of the Ring. I always said this one. Crown Jewel would be a great one.
Yeah. Yep.
Crown Jewel. You know what happened during Crown Jewel, man. That's one that has to be a Dark Side of the Ring. That one, and I believe the WWE layups during the lockdown.
Oh yeah, that might be a good one too. Yeah.
That's one that there's just so many topics that.
What about X-Pac? X-Pac would be a good one too because he had a lot of crap going on. Dating China, going off the rails. Shawn Michaels probably too. I mean, because he came from he went from the dark side to the to the positive side. So,
Shawn back in the day, I heard was like 94 was just so hard to get along with.
Oh yeah, what was it? They were the Rock and Roll Express, right?
Yeah,
Marty Jannetty. Yeah. And I never thought, I like Shawn Michaels, but I was like, he was a big guy. I was like, oh, cool. A smaller guy getting an opportunity to be a champion. And he kind of set the trend for that because there was always big dudes that were champions. You didn't see, Randy was the smallest guy that back in the mid 80s that you saw. I was like, man, because I was so used to Hulk Hogan and, Andre the Giant. And I saw them in the Omni back in the 80s. I saw WCW back in the 1990. I saw the Steiner brothers. I saw Doom. I loved the Steiner brothers, man. They were bad to the bone. And Doom was too, with Butch Reed and Ron Simmons. I was there. I wasn't there, but I was happy when Ron Simmons won the championship. I thought that was great. I thought that was great. And then, you know what, dude? You would love this. On Saturday nights in Georgia, it started like I think it started at 6 or 7 at night, but they had like 8 hours of wrestling on Saturday nights. And Joe Pedicino and John, what's her name? Blackstone, Bonnie Blackstone. And they were the hosts. And they covered all the indie stuff, and they covered WWE and WCW, but it was all the indie stuff. It was all the stuff with Von Erichs. You got to see a lot of different things. And I would just sit there and watch it all night long. I would sit there and watch. There was nothing like it. There was nothing like it. And, eventually all those territories, as we all know, went down to the ground.
I know you mentioned this before. You were trying to stay professional and everything during their intern days, but was there anyone that gave you a little bit of advice when you were working? Like this.
It's I don't really besides talking to Booker T and the like DDP, I really didn't talk to Goldberg all that much. In my last meeting with Bischoff, that probably was he probably gave me some advice. I can't remember it now, but not really, because you know what? I was an intern. Nobody really paid attention to me. Maybe I talked to Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, but it was just in passing. It wasn't. They didn't want me talking to anybody.
I know.
They didn't really want me talking to anyone. I mean, Billy Kidman would come in there every now and then. Rey Mysterio and everything, but you didn't see a lot of them. I mean, sometimes we'd go to events. I think it was in Gainesville, Gainesville, Georgia. There's an arena, and we go to the events. But yeah, nobody really gave me advice back then. It was mainly from my mentor, Straight Call Star Stevens, because he had been around. He'd been around for a long time. And I really appreciated him. And, as far as ring announcers go, no, I didn't really talk to a lot of ring announcers because they were my competition. I thought them. Say it again.
So you didn't talk to like Shivani or anything? Say, hey,
no, they didn't let me talk to anybody. Like I said, they could give two shits what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, hey guys, I'm going to be ring announcing for this show coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
And they just turn around and walk away.
So you're pretty much like the
grunt.
Not the grunt. What's the word? That like the enhancement guy. Oh, the security guard. We're gonna use him for this. We're gonna use him right.
Yeah, I'd make posters. They wanted me to make posters for like if they're going to event, like any of the people in the office were going to one of the events. I had to make Bill Goldberg posters. I think there was celebrity softball, which Bagwell was involved in. I was there for that, and I just didn't get to interact the way I thought I would be able to interact. And when I met some of the wrestlers, we were just talking, shooting the shit for fun. I mean, it wasn't a lot of the guys that gave me advice were the guys that didn't make it to the big time, but they're warriors. A lot of them were warriors. They didn't quit. They worked these shows making $100, and sometimes their tires were popped. They couldn't leave. People would get pissed because, you're in the deep South. A lot of people really, really believed in what they saw. We had the cops called on us I think there was a fight between Notorious D.O.G. and my buddy Vicious Vic Rose. And they took it out to the friggin' outside we did it at a flea market. They took it outside and the cops came and they're like, hey, dude, they had to keep fighting until, they kind of went into the back, but they're like, hey, it's wrestling. It's wrestling, man. It's like, don't arrest us, please. Pretend to arrest us. Pretend.
So. Yeah, that's awesome. So like you went into like voiceover, like I said before. Like, was there any like was there any project you worked on or?
I have if you've heard of Fiverr, I have I have a gig on there. It's a professional ring announcer voiceover gig, and I provide voiceovers for fight cards. Like, say you have a fight card and you want to introduce all these fighters and all that, or you want to do an introduction. I can provide that for you right here. And I came up with the idea. I don't know if it would work or not, but having a remote ring announcer, like I could record all the introductions here, and all they would have to do is play it. They save a lot. Well, they probably save money. It'd be easier. And I would offer, if there was a change in the fight card, that they could contact me. I could record it right away. And, I'd be around for that day that the event's happening, and I could send it right to them. And so I don't know if that's going to work or not, but I'm trying. And I just finished a big job today doing it's not so much a ring announcer introduction, but it was for like Buddy. You ever seen Buddy Games, the movie?
I think so.
You ever seen that movie? If you haven't, you need to go see it. But anyway, these guys are doing all these events like cornhole, darts, and everything, but they have all these names like wrestling names, like the Mega Powers, and Dynamite, Dynamite something, I don't know, but I can do. I've worked for like EZCW. I think they're in Florida. There's a lot. Evolution Pro, I believe.
And I've heard of them.
Yeah, and there's a couple that I've done, but that's the thing. I want to do more. I'm good at. I've been around ring announcing since I was 19, and I don't really want to hit the road anymore because I'm 47, and they don't pay. Nobody's paying, so I got to get paid. And that's a thing too. If you're doing this when you're young, it's not a big deal. Make sure you're getting paid something. Make sure you're getting paid your gas. Make sure you're getting paid for, go and grab something at the Waffle House or whatever you want to go. That you don't do this stuff for free, because you're ruining it for everyone. Wrestlers especially.
Sorry. How'd you come up with this idea to do it virtually?
Well, like I said, in voiceover, they always say, you'll discover your niche as you go on. And I created a couple of gigs. I have a conversational voiceover gig where you're just, reading a normal commercial. If you're crapping your pants, you want to use Depends. It'll help you protect yourself in those necessary times. Or I have one that's a cartoon character. You could be like, hey, everybody, I'm Goofy. I'm here to tell you that you need to brush your teeth. You got character voices. Oh, yeah, baby. You know it. You got all those. But then I created the pro wrestling intro. And I started all my work, started going through that. I just started getting more work from that than my other gigs. And so I just realized, oh, hell, I'm onto something here. This is something I'm good at. It's easy. And I like working with these people. I ring announced, I did ring announcing for MMA. I did ring announcing for pro wrestling, and I loved helping the promoters out, because the promoters, sometimes they would get overwhelmed. They'd get overwhelmed, and I would help guide the show and make it flow, because the last thing you want is dead time. Just like in radio, you don't want dead air. You don't want dead time during an event. People leave. And you don't want that. There was an MMA fight. I live close to Savannah, Georgia, and I live next to Hilton Head Island over in South Carolina. And I was a ring announcer for Bash at the Beach, and it was an MMA event. Guy broke his arm in the ring, in the cage, and we had to wait for like an hour.
WCW.
Yeah, they ripped that off, didn't they? They ripped that off. Damn it! You remember that shit? They'd hit people with the surfboards and stuff.
Yeah.
What didn't they do it over a pool too? Remember they did it over a pool or something?
Yeah. It was Bash at the Beach. Did. They did a show at the beach, literally at the beach of the pool. One show they did at the Mall of America.
Yeah, the mall. Okay, yeah. I remember that one too. Yeah. But I really remember the one at the pool where they were like throwing people in the pool. But what was I saying? Refresh my memory. I can't remember.
You were talking Bash at the Beach now.
Yeah.
Bash at the Beach MMA, all right?
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, MMA, here we go. Sorry, I'm getting old, but, um, so it was 45 minutes.
Live radio right now. There we go.
Yeah, well, whatever, hey, whoops, 45 minutes, right? And I had to entertain the crowd for 45 to an hour and make sure that they didn't leave. And I was the kind of guy that I'd get out in the audience and start interviewing the people in the audience. Sometimes they would start dropping F-bombs and, whoops. But they loved it. They loved it. They loved when you interacted with them. And that's what your job is. Your job is to keep people there at the show. And your job is to, introduce these ladies and gentlemen, but don't upstage them, right? And, it's nice to have a slogan. My main event slogan was, "It's time to wage war." Wage war. So that's what I did. I had to think of something. And so that's what I did. My Brad Storm, I that's not my real name. I've had that name though since I was 20. So I kind of kept it. I asked my agent, I said, "Hey, should I keep this name or should go back to my old name, my real name?" And she's like, "Keep it. Keep it. It's a part of me." My daughter's middle name is Storm. So it's been a big part of my life. And I'm just glad I still can have, if somebody called me in South Carolina and they needed a ring announcer and they're willing to pay a decent, decent price, I'd do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat. But I haven't had those opportunities. I haven't really looked for them though. So I haven't really looked for them. But I would do it. I would do it. But I'd rather do it here. I'd rather do it here in my booth, even though it's summertime and it's really hot in here. But I still would like to be a part somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say your favorite? You like movies, right? So do you have a favorite like comic book movie or
favorite comic book movie? Huh? There's a lot of comic book movies out there.
Or hero? You have a favorite comic book hero? Because
Incredible Hulk. Incredible Hulk was my favorite. The movie was it was okay, but I like the Hulk. He's big, bad. He could jump really high. He could go far, destroy. If I was the Hulk, I would have been playing in the NFL.
Hulk smash.
I would have been playing in the NFL. Nobody could tackle me. I'd get 100 touchdowns. I would have been doing powerlifting in the Olympics. Yeah, I'd be dominating in every sport known to man. I don't know if I'd, be saving the world or anything, but that's what I would have done. I mean, that's what I like. I like the Hulk, man. I heard that Sony has released the rights to the Hulk now, so they can actually, because they couldn't make a movie with the Hulk by himself. He couldn't be in a movie that's why he was in that Thor movie, because he was with Thor. And so now there can be a Hulk movie, but hopefully they don't screw it up.
They screwed up for the past 2 movies. And I'm like, no. Oh, why? Yeah. But
I met Lou Ferrigno at the same comic book convention 2 years before, 2 years ago. And he was telling me he's a real nice guy too. And he was the Incredible Hulk back in the 70s for all you people, late 70s, early 80s, for all you old timers out there. Yeah. But, he was the OG Hulk. And they said he would,
The OG Hulk there. I mean, yeah. The best Hulk. There's no better Hulk.
Oh, no. I think he was great. And Bill Bigsley, who played Bruce Banner, he was good. He was an outstanding actor before even the Hulk. I mean, I'm surprised he even took that role. But that's the Hulk I remember, like growing up. I remember the old Spider-Man where it looked like he was, they were climbing, but they had the camera tilted like he's crawling on the wall.
Before Toby,
old Spider-Man. I like the latest Spider-Man.
There was he's really the best. Bad Spider-Man movie,
No, there is. I mean, I saw the one with Electro. It came out in 2014.
I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking before Toby.
Yeah, before Toby. Hell yeah, the one that was like.
It was.
I know what you're talking about.
Done. It was really cheaply done.
It was on TV. It was TV, and I enjoyed that. You know, when you're a kid, it doesn't matter. It's like it was great. And I liked, Spider-Man, Spider-Man spins a web just like a spider can. That's the one I remember. And Spider-Man and Friends
Oh
with
man,
Iceman,
and
and I think it
Fantastic
was Firestar.
Spider-Man Fantastic Four. You gotta remember that one.
Spider-Man, in fact, yep, I remember that one. And also, even when I was in high school, the X-Men, the X-Men cartoon.
Yeah, I remember. Used
It
to
was like
love the
early
X.
90s.
Yes,
So that one was a classic, you know.
yes. I
And
remember the
I
whole
collected
show. Sorry.
I collected comic books late in my high school years and in my 20s.
Mhm.
And yeah, I had the death of Superman, even though I knew he was coming back to life. I had X-Force 1. I had Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man #1. Unfortunately, I traded all those in for some video games one year. I was stupid. And I regret that to the day I die. I will. I had a lot of comics that were probably worth some money. I still kept my first appearance of Gambit. I still got that. And I used to collect a lot of Nintendo. I had all the Nintendo Power magazines, and I still
Oh
have
man, I
those to
remember
this
those.
day too.
I remember those too,
Yeah,
man. Those Nintendo Power, the ones with Zelda
yeah,
on it. I remember
yep.
those.
I have the first issue with this. I think everybody's got that one now, though. It's readily available. But I had like maybe the first 3 or 4 years of those. Um, and I got all the Web of Spider-Mans. That's my claim right there. I still have all those. Um, and I really liked it. I mean, I like video games too. I got the new Diablo 4 and I'm trying to make some time for it. It takes a lot of time out of your day, so I can't do it too much. But you got to have something to fall back on when you can't work. You can't work all the time. And I tell people that go, well, I can't play Diablo because I'm working on voiceovers because if you can even in wrestling, you can take time, but you have to manage your time accordingly. I schedule out my days from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, and that includes workouts, auditions, social media, and social media. You got to stay on top of that, man. You got to keep pumping out content. If you're not pumping out content, and this is for all wrestling people and all fans, share wrestlers' stuff. Share it.
Oh
Share
my
this
god.
show. Share this show. That's the biggest favor you can do for the Metal Geek, because I'm going to post it. I'm going to post it everywhere. I mean, because you know why? Because in the 90s, you didn't have any way to showcase what you did.
Nope.
You had a camcorder, you could film it. Well, what the hell is it going to do with it?
Yeah, you can't post on the internet. There was really no. I mean,
There was no
YouTube
internet, really.
There was no YouTube. YouTube was like back then and like was
Dude,
super slow, super slow. Okay,
95?
it would
No.
take no, but I'm saying like YouTube would take me 3 hours just to download one video. I would be like, "Fuck
Yeah.
this, man! I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. That's it."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm like, this is what it takes to get big on YouTube? What the fuck?
Three
So you
hours,
got
one show.
TikTok now. You can go on TikTok live and talk to your fans. Make sure, build your tribe. You got to do it. Put the time in. I know, like when I went to the power plant, that was one eye-opening experience. If you don't know what the power plant is, it's the WCW training ground, right? It was in Smyrna, Georgia. And there was guys that went there and they were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the next, Hulk Hogan. No, you're not. There was a lot of work that went into that. You had to be in shape. You really had to be in shape. They did 1,000 squats to start things off. 1,000. So you lost half the people right there. And then they did amateur wrestling in the ring. And it didn't matter if you were the small guy, because they'd put you up against the big guy and see what you're made of. And then they went out and did sprints, but you had to you did it where the guy would jump on your back and you'd have to do them back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, man, I'm tired. I'm exhausted watching all this. I don't even know. I couldn't even do that. But you got to give hands off to like people that made it, because they earned it. They earned it. They wanted to see what you were made of, because, and back then too, I think you had to do the mic skills too, but that wasn't the most important thing. One of my favorite wrestlers is Dean Malenko. And he wasn't a big talker. He was just a great, the man of 1,000 holds, right? And Chris Benoit, he was one of my favorite wrestlers.
Awesome wrestler.
And really upset me about what happened to him.
Me too, man. I don't want to talk about it. That's how upsetting it was. But
I looked at, he was like 5'10", built like a brick shit house, didn't talk much, but kicked ass.
Yeah.
And I kind of cling to that. That was cool. That was cool. Not cool what he did in real life, but it was cool.
Mm.
He was a great wrestler. Too bad he doesn't. He's never going to get recognized for that ever.
Never, because
no, unfortunately. But it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. You speak of the power plant. There's actually one guy. He's wrestling right now that made it from the power plant. He's from Georgia.
Was it Heath Slater or who was it?
AJ Styles.
Oh, that's another guy. Okay, you talk about good old days. The bar. I knew AJ Styles when he was young. I mean, we were both young because he's about my age. Yeah, I think he's 45 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I knew him when he was young. I was like, man, he's a tiny dude, but he stuck with it. And he went to what? Impact? Was it Impact back in the day? Was that what it was called when they had the octagon ring? TNA. Yeah, TNA. They went to TNA. Yep. And I was like, what the hell is this ring? And then they used to do where they would climb the top of the ring and do the belts. They would hang and shit.
The Ultimate X match.
Ultimate X match. Yeah. I was like, this is some crazy shit.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for him, man. He worked hard. He worked hard because I'm sure a lot of people told him he wouldn't be able to do the things he's done.
No. Right.
But he blocked out the noise. And that's the thing. Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah. AJ Styles. One that made it.
Too.
Oh, Japan was important.
Yeah, that was the big thing for him. I think that's what defined him right there. It's like, can I hang with the best? And he did it,
Yeah, because I mean, how do you communicate in the ring, really? With somebody that doesn't speak your language.
Yeah, right.
You gotta figure, you gotta figure it out on the fly, I guess. But yeah, he was good. And I like the fact that MMA guys came over to wrestle, like Dan Severn, Dan the Beast Severn. I mean, he started off as a pro wrestler. Dan the Beast was a pro wrestler.
Brock Lesnar.
And Shamrock, Ken Shamrock, he was there for a while. He did pretty decent. Yep, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And Brock's been doing it for a while too now, and I'm just like amazed at how he's still continuing to move on and kick ass. I mean, he's a beast. But you know what? Go ahead.
That's up. Continue.
Yeah. But yeah, he's continued on and he's done well because he's kept his shit together. You keep your shit together. You don't get involved in I just watched the Doink the Clown Dark Side of the Ring. And it's just the same story over and over again. These guys get hooked on all the drugs, and man, they just can't snap out of it. And it ends their lives. It's unfortunate. But I think the new wave of wrestlers, that's not going to happen. You're going to see these guys get into their 70s and 80s. I had Sergeant Slaughter follow me on Twitter the other day. I was like, hell yeah, that's cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was like, that's cool. I really like that. I love Sergeant Slaughter. He was always good, But my fondest memories when I was a kid was just watching those WrestleManias. And I saw WrestleMania 1 on HBO. That's the first time I really thought, well, what the hell is this? I was like, oh, I like Mr. T. That guy, he's cool. And then that Rowdy Piper. Like, who the hell is this guy? And I didn't say that when I was like 8 years old, but still, it was like Rowdy Piper and the Iron Sheik. I used to I worked shows with the Iron Sheik, and may he rest in peace as well. He had his daughter passed away, and it was, he's had some things that it was tough, but he used to juggle these friggin' big things. I don't remember what the hell they were, but he was strong as a bull. Was it Ken Norton was another, Fire and Ice? You remember Fire and Ice? I don't remember Ice, but I remember Ken Norton. And He was strong too. And there's a lot of guys that could really. I mean, they if you crossed them back in the day, they'd shoot on you. They would shoot on you. They definitely would. I think some people they need to hang up the tights, and they don't. Like Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson. I worked shows with them, and they just didn't look good anymore. They just didn't look good.
Rick is pulling out new stuff now.
Doing what?
They're doing Canadian destroyers now, which is absolutely crazy.
What?
Yeah. I swear to God,
they're nice guys.
At
they're old.
At their age, man, doing
Canadian destroyer. Yeah. You shouldn't have to do that in your late 60s.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't have to happen. I mean, it's hard. I mean, even with Ric Flair for the longest time in that last match he had, I don't think he should have had it. Because you want to go out on top, man. You want to go out with people remembered you. It's unfortunate that Bret the Hitman Hart got taken out and he didn't get to finish the way he wanted to finish. Because he was another one that I really liked. I really liked the Hitman. But Goldberg, supposedly, I guess he stomped him.
His kid's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, who's that? Whose kid?
Whose kid? We talking about Anthony?
What's up, Anthony? Yeah, thanks for checking out the show, bud. Yeah, I just, there's a lot of good memories. If I could go back, like I said, I would just put Ricky Morton. Okay, yeah, what's it? I have to check that out. I have to check that out.
Karen Morton, yes.
Morton. Okay, cool. Well, they should be.
Yeah,
they should be good wrestlers. Second generation, third generation wrestlers, they should be good. Mm-hmm. And it helps having somebody that's in the business that can get you connected to. And I just saw Rey Mysterio's his son that's in WWE.
Dominic.
Yeah, Dominic. Yeah, I was like, that's cool as shit.
Uh-huh.
That's cool as shit. You got to take advantage if that's what you want to do. And it's just like acting. A lot of actors, their family members get involved, and because they know what to expect. But if you don't have any ties, you just got to keep your eyes open, mouth shut, and your ears open. You got to listen. You got to learn basic holds. Before you do I'm not into the million flips. It's great, but that's not. It's entertaining. Mm-hmm. You would never win a fight doing that.
But also, Ricky Morton's actually training people. I don't know if you know Riley Rocket.
Okay, yeah, I have to look him up now.
Her.
Or her, sorry.
I forgot her name now. She's in NWA now. Pretty Empowered, I think her name is.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you're gonna have to get me in the loop more again. I like, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. It's kind of weird, like how we met too. It's like right through on Instagram. I meet so many people on Instagram.
Yeah, I was talking. I was like, you liked my stuff for some reason. I was like, okay, I'll give this guy a follow. He seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then we started chatting. So
Yeah, I always leave. I have a graphic, or I'll leave a message. I'll tell everybody, hey, when life gets you down and you feel like you can't go on, you need to punch every day in the face. And a lot of people respond. I get a lot of work that way too.
Yeah.
Or I'll leave my graphic saying thanks for the follow. It seems to work, and I'm glad I met you.
Yeah.
So I could talk to everybody out there and just say, hey, if you need a voice for your organization, reach out to me. Mm-hmm. I'm around.
Man.
And we can talk old stories. I don't care.
It's
always a good time.
This has been a fun interview, man.
Thanks. I'm glad you had me on. It's always good to go back in time. And because like I said, I would never change anything I did. I'm not ashamed of anything I did. Between the dancing, the music, the wrestling, I had a good time, bro. I had a good time. And I'm still having good times. They're just different now. They're just different. And if I can get involved in wrestling in any way or mixed martial arts, I will. I've been around podcasting for a long time. I hosted a show called the VO's Padded Room Podcast. VO stands for voiceover. So we'd interview different people in voiceover. And one of the guys, Joe Martinez, he's a ring announcer for the UFC. He's a friend of mine, and I reached out to him on LinkedIn about in 2012, and he was nice enough to talk to me, give me advice, and I've stayed in contact with him for a very long time. So I appreciate people that are willing to help me because I help a lot of people, and I don't expect anything in return. I really don't. I just like helping people. I was a fireman. I like to help people then, and I still like helping people now. And if you're trying to get your organization off the ground and you need something that pops and that's loud and in your face, I'm lightning in a mic. So,
yeah. I was going to ask you, did you see the new Transformers or no?
oh, you dude.
I just want to say how awesome that movie was,
I saw it in 3D.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a 3D movie in a while too, because I was like, I wear glasses to the movies. And I'm like, oh shit. I told my wife, I was like, damn, I think we're in 3D movie because it's all blurry. I said, or either that, I'm going blind. And so I go get my 3D glass. I'm like, holy crap, 3D's come a long way. And yeah, that movie was great. That movie was great. I have to say, I'm going to see Spider-Verse tomorrow.
Yeah. Spoilers for those who, for the future movies of Transformers. I cannot wait, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What's gonna be entailed? I'm not gonna give too much away, but the future of Transformers looks bright right now. What they're doing right now.
Yeah, because I lost track after the first two that came out a while ago. I lost track. I just kind of lost interest. Then I saw Bumblebee, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And this one, it was really good, man. It was really good, well done. And I didn't know much about. I think those toys must have came out after I was a teenager, but the ones with the gorillas and the bird, and I don't know if they were even real toys. Were they real toys?
The Primals, right?
Yeah, the Primals. They were real.
I believe I didn't really use them, so
I had the Constructicons. I want to see them.
Yeah.
They had a bulldozer, and they all freaking formed this big Voltron looking thing. I like that. That was cool. Constructicons.
Mirage was cool though.
Mirage. Yeah, Mirage is old school.
Yeah.
Mirage was like an OG.
Yeah.
They had the OGs were like Optimus Prime, Mirage. They had a Jeep. They had an ambulance. I remember. And they were made of like metal. They were made of metal, not crappy plastic. The toys back in the day, those Transformers were the bomb back in the day. I had them all.
Shouts out to the guy who pitched that idea to Hasbro. Say we need to do this.
Oh yeah, and Hasbro, they make GI Joe, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and it's from my old. I lived probably about 30 minutes from Hasbro when I was a kid, because I lived in Rhode Island, and that's where they are, Rhode Island. I don't know if they're there anymore, but that's where they were. I always thought that was cool when we drive by Hasbro. I'd be like, damn, man, that's where they make all the damn toys.
Probably California now.
Yeah, probably. But they're probably moving out of California now.
probably to Texas.
yeah. Well, I collect I like the McFarlane football figures. I used to collect a lot of those. And I collected a lot of the horror figures that Todd McFarlane would put out. And like I have all the Friday the 13th, Chucky,
Spawn,
Leatherface, all that.
Spawn?
I did not have Spawn, but I had Spawn #1 comic book, and I gave it away pretty much.
What's your opinion on the new movie that they're making?
Oh, they better, because that last movie was junk. It was a while ago.
That was a long time ago. So you can't,
yeah.
I mean, back then, movies, like you go see a movie, it'd be like, that movie's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now people's expectations are a lot higher. So I mean, the Mario Brothers movie, a lot of people liked it back then. But
yeah, they did.
They did, yeah.
I was like, this is not like the game.
I
liked Lou Albano though. Lou Albano was cool. I liked him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that movie.
I mean,
Yeah, even like the garbage.
Nowadays it's bad. But
Oh yeah,
you,
it didn't.
you look back as a kid. It's like, that movie wasn't that bad. That was a pretty funny movie. And then it's like, and now you look back at that movie, like that movie was crap.
Yeah, look at old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, or go look at the Garbage Pail Kid movie. That was old school right there. I remember I was like, oh, I used to collect. I still have my Garbage Pail Kids. I And I was like, man, this movie's pretty bad. Oh, well, I like it though.
Yeah.
I used to like old, like really old horror movies like Basket Case, Blood Beach, Phantasm. You know, those kind of movies that didn't make it into theaters, but they were like like cult classics. I used to really dig all that stuff. But when you're a firefighter and you see a lot of that gore in real life, you don't like horror movies as much anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
They're also redoing Ninja Turtles. They're doing
Yeah, I
another
saw
one.
that. Yeah, that looks pretty good too. I
I
like
hate the
that.
last one.
I'm say what?
I hated the last one. The Michael Bay ones were
Oh
trash.
yeah. I didn't get into that. I think this
I
new one, I like the art style in this one.
This one
I
is,
think
and it has all-star cast too. So in this
yeah, oh
one,
yeah, every voice in it is like top of the line.
Jackie
And so,
Chan's in it, John Cena's in it.
oh
John
yeah, yeah,
Cena.
John Cena. I like them in those firefighter movies. What was that firefighter movie he was in? That was good.
I could
Uh,
see you doing that. The John Cena voice is like, the Z100 is like, it's like, guess who it is? It's John Cena.
it's John Cena. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He does one of the big guys' voices.
I forgot. No, I'm saying there was like an old commercial back in the day
Oh
when.
yeah, snap into a Slim Jim. Yeah.
No, not that commercial.
And
I'm
that's
talking
them.
about
That's Macho Man. I know.
that's Macho Man, but there was a radio commercial. You're like, guess what you won? You get to see John Cena survive a Shark Tank steel cage match.
I have to look at that one. I don't know what you're talking about,
Uh,
but I'll find it.
it had these like the monster truck.
The
voice.
monster truck voice. Yeah. Grave digger coming to you. Oh yeah. Yeah. I had a metal voice. I sang metal, man. Everybody's like, how come you don't lose your voice? I said, because you just practice and you get used to it. I mean, I did the job I did today though. It's like friggin' 95 degrees in here. I got a fan too, and it's hot sometimes. I'm just like, man, this is a workout today, man. I'm sweating my ass off in here. But it's fun. It's just fun. You know, voiceover is fun. If you want to learn more about voiceover, if you're interested, reach out to me. I'm on all social media platforms. Brad Storm VO on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and then Brad Storm Lanou on LinkedIn, and Brad Storm Voiceover on Facebook. So yeah, just reach out to me if you want to learn more. I have a private group. We meet every Thursday. We're called the Fortress of Voiceover Solitude. And we meet every Thursday. People have questions. We answer questions. We just kind of, catch up on the week and keep each other accountable. And I also work for the VO Academy. And they have mentors every month that teach acting, voice acting, script breakdowns, improv, cartoon characters. We're working on villains, I think in August and September. But I host 2 script read sessions a month there alongside my buddy Corey Rhymes. He does 2 script read sessions. So you get 4 in a month and you get to interact with these mentors and, perfect your craft. And you know what? If you're a wrestler, it might be good to do that. It might be good to come into one of these classes. So if you're really bad about being behind the mic, this will help you. This will help you be able to improv and think on your toes. Or if they give you kind of an idea and you can just recreate that and you only have 60 seconds, you'll get better. This could help you big time.
All right. Yeah.
Because that's really important nowadays, right?
Yeah. So Brad, take it away, man. You could do the outro. Let's go.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone for staying here and staying in tune with us geeking out with the Metal Geek Podcast. Brad Storm, the Metal Geek. We're going to punch you right in the face. Yeah. Yes.